I don't know. Yeah.
Six o'clock, Monday, February 20th, 2023, regular meeting of the Windsor High City Council. Roll call.
Susan Skerries.
Here.
Michael Libby.
Here.
Lauren Campbell.
Here.
Teresa Harms.
Join me in the pledge of allegiance. Pledge of
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Roll
Second.
call.
Susan Skerries.
Yes.
Michael Libby.
Yes.
Lauren Campbell.
Yes.
And Teresa Harms.
And 3, a presentation of Moines fiscal year 23-25 strategic plan. Bravo Greater Des Moines Executive Director Sally Dix.
Good meeting. Excellent. And should I just let you know?
Yeah, he's got.
Thank you. Well, good evening. I really appreciate the opportunity to be here tonight, and mostly just want to thank you for your support of Bravo Greater Des Moines. The investments that you make in us allow the work that we do to happen in our community. And I especially want to thank Lauren Campbell, who serves as the City of Windsor Heights representative on the Bravo board. My purpose here tonight is to give a very high-level overview of what we do with the funds that you're investing, and provide a little bit of line of sight to where we're going with the passage of our new strategic plan. Please feel free to jump in if you have questions or if I'm moving too quickly. But otherwise, I do want to be respectful of your time. So pretty quick overview. Next slide. First, I just want to start with a little bit of a refresher about Bravo's history. Many of you have been on the council for a while and are familiar, but Bravo Greater Des Moines was formed in 2004 when business and community leaders recognized the critical role that quality of life would play in our region, and determined that a regional entity dedicated to arts and culture would not only be efficient, but also effective. We were originally a collaboration between 9 local governments. We now have 17 local government partners, and we continue as Bravo to act as a steward for the hotel motel taxes that each city contributes. Bravo was formed originally to serve as a centralized grant funder. We are able to leverage the resources of the region to make stronger, higher impact investments than each individual municipality could do on their own. I will say we've evolved into an organization that is much broader than simply serving that purpose. And I look forward to sharing with you a little bit about the work that we do beyond grant making to provide leadership on arts and culture issues and opportunities that really advance every priority that our region is trying to achieve. Next slide. When I talk about our region's priorities, those have been defined in a number of ways, but we have worked hard to make sure that arts and culture are specifically aligned with regional priorities. So pivoting off the work of Capital Crossroads that identified hundreds of priorities for the region, there were 8 that were identified as catalyst priorities. Bravo then identified 4 things that arts and culture are uniquely positioned to do to advance those regional priorities. So everything from talent attraction, retention, workforce, diversity, equity, and inclusion. These are the 4 things that guide Bravo's work to make sure that we're aligning arts and culture. So we have every day, more art, more places, more people. We have strengthening the creative economy, making sure our creative professionals feel connected to the resources available in the community to other small businesses and other professionals. Cultural tapestry. We certainly want to make sure that everyone that lives in our community sees themselves in the arts, culture, and heritage that is presented and represented and funded, especially with public dollars. And then, of course, youth connections. We know that more access to arts and culture that young people have, it makes them better grown-ups. The statistic I love to share at meetings like this is that it also actually, there are data that show that young people that have more access in the community in which they're raised are more likely to come back and live in that community as adults. So I think it's a really important thing that we need to be investing in. So these 4 regional cultural priorities are really important and are the guiding focus for Bravo's efforts. Everything we do is to advance those 4 priorities. Next slide. As I said, we are most known for our grant making work, and we're incredibly proud of that. I never want to minimize that in these conversations because that's really the only thing that we did for the first 15 years. And we've invested more than $50 million worth of public funding since 2006. It's huge dollars. It is truly the envy of communities across the country that we have this stable revenue stream, and it is thanks to governments like yours that allow us to do this work. In our most recent grant cycle, just to give you a little information, we had 85 organizations funded, located in 13 of Bravo's 17 communities. The other 4 did not have applicants. It isn't that we didn't fund them, it's that there were no applicants from those 4 communities. It's interesting to note that that's 20 more organizations than we were funding pre-pandemic. We anticipated the trajectory to go the other way. We are actually funding more organizations post-pandemic than we were going into the pandemic. Annual operating budgets for those 85 organizations range from about $2,500 a year to almost $24 million. So we do have a wide range of organizations that we're supporting at various levels. 66% of the organizations we support have annual operating budgets below $250,000, and more than 50% of them are all volunteer-led. One of the perceptions about Bravo is that all of the money is going to large organizations that are staffed and professionally run. And when you look at the data, that's actually not the case. We have a wide range of organizations serving a wide range of needs. As I said, in addition to the grant making, we also provide leadership on arts and cultural issues and making sure that there are other efforts and opportunities that really a single organization can't lead, but Bravo as a regional entity can provide context for. A couple of examples that I think will be exciting to you are first, Arts and Economic Prosperity 6. All of our economic impact data comes from a 2015 study. It was released in 2017 based on 2015 data. They were supposed to do it in 2020. Again, we partnered with Americans for the Arts. Obviously, that would not have been a good time for an economic impact study. So it's been postponed, but we will have those results by September of this year and are really looking forward to being able to report back on the economic impact of the organizations in our community. We also have funded and supported a cultural equity cohort. Again, in that concept of cultural tapestry, we want to make sure that the leaders and organizers of the organizations are all taking steps to make sure that the audiences and the community feels welcome in their spaces. So Bravo funded that with 14 organizations participating so that we had some common language and some common expectations. Finally, Passport to Culture is a program that we fund so that every elementary school student in every community that Bravo supports is funded somewhere between $3.50 and $6.50 to participate in arts and culture school-based experiences. We know that field trips and transportation have been cut, funding for that has been cut, but we believe it's so important that we are now funding those programs. So every student in K through 5 in Windsor Heights is getting somewhere between $3.50 and $6.50 to participate in school-based programs. That funding goes directly to the schools. They make the decisions on what's best for them for their curriculum. So your students are directly benefiting from your investment. I feel like we're maybe in a post-COVID world, but I do want to just provide some context. It's really hard to underestimate the impact that had on Bravo and on our cultural partners. Estimates are losses of more than $40 million to arts and cultural venues in the state of Iowa, and more than 40% of those losses were absorbed by organizations in this greater Des Moines region. Bravo was able to fund, Bravo is 100%, 99.9% funded with hotel motel taxes. So this was not an awesome period for us. Lost revenue was substantial. We estimate it to be around $4 million as a result of the pandemic. We, in response, want to be good stewards of your funds. We were able to secure first and second round PPP loans. Those have both now been fully forgiven. We also froze hiring, executed partial furloughs for 100% of our staff, that's 3, and executed a reduction in force. So we went from staff of 3 to a staff of 2. Despite that, we were able to pay out 100% of our grant commitments. We did not have to take back any money that we had said we were able to pay. In fact, we were actually able to advance our payments and pay earlier, sooner than expected, when many of the organizations we supported had no earned revenue and were not making any, were not receiving as much contributed revenue because of the pandemic. You can see from this slide though, investing more than we are bringing in is not sustainable. So we are certainly trying to right the ship and make sure that we are rebuilding cash reserves as well as continuing to make good and responsible investments as these organizations are coming back online. Just as many of the organizations we support are coming out of the pandemic in new and different ways, we felt it was incumbent on Bravo to reimagine ourselves too and make sure that we are remaining relevant and responsive to new community needs. So for us, we know there's an urgent need to continue strengthening that resilient and connected cultural sector. And we know we need to make sure that we're talking about things that are beyond economic impact and quality of life. We have to make sure that arts and culture are seen as essential to advancing every regional priority. There is nothing you're talking about in this room that arts and culture can't make better. And we need to do a better job of telling that story and making sure that we're making those important connections. So we did create a new strategic plan that was approved by our board in June of last year. We are still in the process of operationalizing that, that strategic plan. But our goals are to expand pathways to support more organizations that are uniquely advancing those regional cultural priorities. We want to champion the role of arts, culture, and heritage in delivering on those broader economic, civil, and social impact areas. We want to strengthen relationships between the cultural sector and the broader community. And we want to make sure that arts, culture, and heritage are a priority driver of our region's identity. We really have been working hard on this, and I'm happy to talk more specifically about each one of the objectives that we're doing. Final slide. As we conclude, if you just remember one thing about this presentation or the role that Bravo plays, just please remember that your support for Bravo is support for every regional priority. It is truly having an impact in big, broad ways, from economic development to mental health, education to civic dialogue. Arts and culture are essential community pillars and a strong investment of public funds. We are extremely grateful for support from the City of Windsor Heights. Again, want to acknowledge Lauren Campbell's representation of the city on the Bravo board, and I'm happy to take any questions.
Sally, good to see you.
Good to see you.
As always. Say hello, Patrick. Given the current legislative climate, are you seeing any impact with regard to your outreach and your cultural and educational efforts for Bravo?
Be more specific, please.
I'm trying to be delicate.
And I'm not going to fall for it. What are some of the specific?
I think some of the specific concerns are the climate with regard to cultural issues in our school system and educational issues that seem to be a passion right now. And I'm just wondering if those things have rubbed some issues here.
So no, but I will say one of the things that's wonderful about the sector that we support is their level of creativity and their ability to find solutions or find paths forward when sometimes it doesn't seem as if there are. So if anything, we're actually seeing expanded programming to address some of the challenges that perhaps you're referring to. There are always ways for creative workarounds. And so we are seeing some creative expanded programming so that, as I said, everyone sees themselves in the arts and culture that are presented here.
It's so important for a well-rounded community.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes.
Sally, thanks for coming to speak to us. And thanks for the shout out. That's very kind of you. You have been so much effort to make the meetings go fantastic for the Bravo board. So you make it very easy to be on that. And I also want to thank you. I got to attend 6 at the Civic Center this last week, and there were surveys for people from Bravo on the back of some seats for people to give feedback about culture too. So I love that it's gathering feedback from people. And I know that I parked by a lot of cars with out of county and further than just Dallas and the Air County license plates that people that travel to see the show, and hopefully went out to dinner or stay at a hotel or something while they're here too. So the impact. So thank you.
Absolutely. It's my pleasure. I really love what I get to do, and I really thank you for your support.
Thanks for your investments in Windsor Heights too.
Absolutely. Good things coming. I do want to call out, we have a grant cycle that just opened or maybe is opening for public art funding, and the City of Windsor Heights is eligible to apply. It doesn't require you to be a 501c. So if the city is interested in that, make sure you reach out so we get you that information so you can do more good stuff.
Thank you, Sally.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
4A, public hearing on proposed contract documents, plan specification on the contract, and estimated cost for the 68th Street Reconstruction Improvements. Motion.
Second.
Roll call.
Susan Skiris.
Yes.
Michael Libby.
Yes.
Lauren Campbell.
Yes.
And Teresa Harms.
Yes.
This is the public hearing to discuss the proposed contract award for 68th Street Reconstruction. I have some comments before public hearing is open. So in 2015, the city of Moines adopted a complete streets policy. And by resolution, this was adopted. It was adopted again by resolution in January of 2017. This policy, which is pretty lengthy, laid out the principles and practices to assist in the creation of an equitable, balanced, and effective transportation system that encourages walking, bicycling, and transit use to improve health, economic vitality, and reduce adverse environmental impacts while simultaneously promoting safety for all users of the streets. In February of 2017, a comprehensive plan was completed for the city of Windsor Heights, and an entire chapter was dedicated to the implementation of the complete streets policy. Part of that policy, looking here, discuss incorporating complete streets elements into existing public streets to improve safety and convenience of all users. And something that was done, I would say, to a bit of unpleasantness on 64th Street and Del Negro. What we are here to talk about tonight is not that. 68th Street is going to be reconstructed. The entire street will be completely torn apart, deconstructed, and built anew. When we opened discussions on the reconstruction, there were proposals for additional things other than just the street, monument signage, traffic calming measures, and of course sidewalks. In order to gather feedback on these proposals, an open house was held in July of 2022. This open house was advertised on the city's social media. Over time, more feedback was gathered and monument signage and traffic calming measures were dropped. That led to the second open house in October of 2022. In the past, I have heard criticism about the city's communication of certain things. All of our meetings are open and recorded, but I know that a lot of people, in fact, most people don't watch them. This open house, the second open house, had its own Facebook event, but I know that not everybody uses social media. And that's why we put it on our newsletter. Here. Our newsletter is sent to every resident in Windsor Heights. Throughout the course of both open houses, I heard support, I heard opposition, I heard a number of questions. To answer or to discuss some of them. One question was, or comment, I suppose, was 68th Street doesn't have a lot of foot traffic. Well, that could be sort of a self-fulfilling prophecy. No one likes to walk in the street. But also, the majority of the sidewalks in our community, especially on the west side, don't actually link to much of other things. So the second comment is a sidewalk to nowhere. That is pretty true. For now. But there will be time eventually when we talk about reconstructing Timmons Drive. And this same discussion is going to be had. And when it's time to reconstruct 69th Street, this same discussion is going to be had. And when the DOT decides to reconstruct Hickman Road, because it is a state highway, I bet this discussion is going to be had. Hickman, again, it's a state highway. The state of Iowa actually owns the right of way in front of Hickman Taylor's, and part of it. So probably. I've heard questions about the cost. Well, these are not being specially assessed anymore. A review of this bid, or these bids, also show that this is a $1.9 million project, assuming that the council adopts the lowest responsible bid. The sidewalks cost approximately $35,000. That's 1.8% of the total cost. I'm sure there are other questions or comments or concerns related to maintenance or having to clear them. But I would note that those are issues that every other Windsor Heights resident with sidewalks has to deal with. There's of course going to be discussion. But I would note that we had 2 open houses on this project. I can't really think of a time that we had 2 open houses on one project. Ever? We communicated this to city council meetings, through social media, and also the newsletter, which reaches every single Windsor Heights resident. I would say that our communication opportunities for feedback provided on this topic has been. So with that public hearing, if there's anybody here who wishes to speak on this project, please come forward. State your name and address at the microphone. Keep your comments to no more than 5 minutes.
I'm on 168 Street. Please excuse me if I'm not public street. I noticed that it's particular to family. I'm bear in mind very, very good. Pretty well put thoughts down on this. You emailed a lot of thoughts to you already. First of all, I don't know. I looked at this. I'm sorry, I must be blind, but there's nothing about public meeting in the February newsletter. I don't know where it would be. Obviously, it's not in a place where I get very noticeable, and the only way I found out is emailing. So I find that I went around and talked to some of my neighbors, and there was actually neighbors who evidently don't do the places where you advertise it if they didn't know about this. I don't do social media. I just didn't know anything about this. So I'm glad I got an indication that you were having this meeting tonight. We're all part of the Windsor Heights community and desire to be heard in an open-minded way. And I want to point out that walkability is fine, but you have also allowed the people on Allison, which was construction, I believe, last year, to vote on whether they want to do sidewalks before. They're a lot more walkability than we are. We have one place that gets into the Hickman, and frankly, I sit at my front door and I watch people, and very few people will walk by my property. So we really request that we are deserving of the same consideration that we gave the Allison resident, and allow us to also vote to whether we want sidewalks or not, because it's obvious that people have not been able to make time for them to come here. And okay. So again, it's not a very well used street. It gets into Hickman. I've walked down Hickman in front of the storage unit and it scares the crap out of me. So I just don't even walk that direction. I feel like I'm gonna get run over and it's just doesn't feel like a very safe place. So people don't go onto the pavement to walk as a walking. I'm finding that one of the big things is the slope of the street. Now I thought that I tried to get the pictures on the second page, that in the lower section of Windsor Heights, that there is a significant slope on those streets. Unfortunately, I'm sorry, the pictures aren't conducive to what they are. You almost have to go out and look at them. But I'm feeling like there could be an introduction of a two, possibly a 2.5 foot retaining wall onto our property, so that you can get the sidewalks flat. Unlike maybe other streets that the yards are already flat. It is flat in my area, but when you start getting down below, it's not. It's got a significant curve to it. So they're going to have a retaining wall. I think it's going to be very, very difficult for homeowners to deal with, about 8 feet or something like that of their front yard, and then this retaining wall to get more and things like that. And that's part of the upkeep and everything. Also, I don't know really how far away the sidewalk is from the street, but I do know that plows go by, and I have neighbors who like to plow onto my property. And if it freezes, sometimes in the wet snow, and you've got somebody who's plowed onto our sidewalks or something like, you can't get it. You might have a jackhammer. Call in the city, get a jackhammer, get that snow on ice. And so I'm worried about the continual, and I understand. I mean, we have to have our street plow, but they do come up, and I understand that that's the way it works. But it's kind of one of those things that how far away the sidewalks going to be, and is that snow going to be repeatedly onto the sidewalks where we have to repeatedly get that shoveled up. Talked about the retaining wall. There's going to be a lot of disfiguring of trees. In fact, I have one in my room of my house that they're going to almost have to cut off half of my trees. There's going to be a lot of landscaping that has to be destroyed. That homeowners have landscaped around their mailboxes and things like that. That's not going to be something that you guys will replace. The homeowners have to replace that. A lot of effort is put into our yards, and so we're not very happy that we have to put more effort in. I have a berm, and I'm hoping that it's actually off of that area. Otherwise, we're going to be ripping that berm out. Pretty much, that pretty well covers everything. I tried to, like I said, I printed it out, so I'm not that articulate. So I want to make sure that you had all my thoughts on paper, and that that I could be effectively, put forth. So like I said, I did contact a lot of our neighbors, but it was Sunday, and so I'm sure there's flyers in their doors and things like that. I don't use social media like Mr. Jones said. I didn't see anything in this newsletter, so I don't know what to say. But anyway, that's my thoughts. If you guys have any questions or comments, what I said.
You did just fine.
Thank you. I mean, I used to come to the city council a lot and talk a lot. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Good evening, everyone. My name is Raymond Steele. I missed I live on 68th Street, 1917. I just recently moved back from overseas, so forgive me if I don't do something correctly in this, because I've never been in the setting. I've been overseas serving the military for quite a long time.
Thank you for your service.
Appreciate it. So I saw her come to my door to put the flyer in. I have received the newsletters. I didn't see anything about any sidewalk installations. Maybe I just missed it, but I usually read that. I think that what she's saying is a good idea. If the other areas are getting a chance to vote. I mean, we're only 2 individuals here, so it's not fair for us to try to make decisions between the two of us. But if like there's an official vote that could happen, or if that's a thing that the city does, I think that would be a great idea. I do happen to agree with her because I live right there on the corner of Timmons and 68. They both go downhill towards each other, and when they do plow, there's at least 5 feet. This last time, there's like almost 5 feet. My bottom of my mailbox was covered in snow because of the plows, and if you have sidewalks, like I myself had trouble shoveling my driveway, so I think that there's a lot more to people with disabilities like myself that shoveling the sidewalk as well as add more people to that. I don't know if this is just about the sidewalks or if I can discuss other things with the road. At least on the area where I live, everyone has like super long, big wide driveways, which is nice, but they don't seem to use it. I don't know if this was discussed the installation of the parking sign. That's been brought up all or what is it? What is this grass? So like when I'm backing out of my driveway, sometimes there's like 3 cars parked there and I can't have it. So that's why it's a very thin road. It's not a very wide road in the first place, but I think that might be a good addition to the roads. That's really all I have.
Are you asking, can I just ask, are you asking for the no parking kind of by your area where you say that it gets kind of like compacted? Or are you talking about the whole entire street?
That whole like Timmons and Hickman area, it happens all along, but the fact that the roads are so, it's more of a safety issue. If anything, since they supposed to slope downward into that, where I guess there used to be a nature preserve at the corner area there. And, you know, especially when the roads are icy and stuff, like you're not gonna have time to like control your car to like not get a parked car that could be in the drive.
And my question was just so that, you know, either public safety or engineering or somebody could go out and take a look and see, you know, is this a problem? Is there something that we can do?
That would be
Just so that
fantastic.
we kind of understood what, I made sure that we all were on the same page. So, thank you.
Right. Is it still you're talking about in section?
Correct.
Thank you. Thank you. Any other public comment? Public comment online?
I have a question. The vote that Vicky Wasser mentioned for Allison, I don't recall as there was there what was.
I don't want to, there was no vote on Allison that I knew of formally or official, that was presented to council as far as decision-making. Justin?
I think you might have asked, but it wasn't like it was more informational, right? And that was, might have been presented. And I don't know if that was like you voting yes or no, just like here's information, like who wanted the sidewalk.
So is that like feedback from the open
Yes,
houses, like
yeah.
those cards?
Correct.
And then another quick question, Michelle, this might be a question for you. The open houses that were in the newsletter, do we mail postcards for the open houses on 68th Street?
No,
We didn't. Okay.
Public Works, drop them both off.
Oh,
Yeah,
like the
like door hangers.
door hanger. Okay, thank you. I only got one, and I did attend that. I only got one.
So I neglected to mention that, so door hangers were given out.
Now, was this door hangers given out like on a Friday and they're supposed to be there on Monday? Or like, do we know the time frame? Because I know that we've done that before where residents didn't have really a lot of notice and then,
I would have to look at the exact date, but I don't
But again, there was no, I guess, official straw poll, something like that. I want to be clear on that. Another comment was also the sidewalk is 4.5 feet, I believe, from the road.
As far as we get that, it's about a foot off the right of way. So yes.
And then is the street any wider?
Foot and a half, maybe.
All right, any other, we can discuss consideration. That consideration. Is there any other public comment?
I'll say that I did know about the sidewalk on the whole one. The reason I brought that up is I do know that was on Ouverson, and she had said that they did vote. And as a result, there is no sidewalk on Ouverson because the residents.
All right, if there's no more public comment.
Second.
Roll call.
Susan Skiris.
Yes.
Michael Libby.
Yes.
Lauren Campbell.
Yes.
And Teresa Harms.
Yes.
4B, consideration of bids, 68th Street Reconstruction Improvements Project.
So moved.
On what?
Consideration.
Well, maybe it's one.
Yeah, pick one. Oh, I'm sorry. So hold on, Justin, did you want to talk about the actual bids before any motion is made?
Justin is bowling. Just, we had the two bids, you can see the price in there, a little bit higher than what we thought, but I believe it's still within our original budget a while ago, so. I think we had like 28 landholders was what we were, we got two bidders. So, can't explain why. We could go ahead and we had 12 bidders on the project, not knowing what that is, but whether it's just timing of things or what, I'm not sure, so.
Question for Justin? Discussion?
Appreciate the bids. I think that they're in line with the conversations we've had and the feedback that we had at the public meetings. I know I was able to attend one of them, and during the duration that I was there, I talked to two residents just about general conversations. I think, we took the feedback that we received and responded appropriately at that time. Mr. Mayor, I think that we are very much in line with this proposal in our streets planning, and I appreciate the commentary about the need that we need to look broader, and that it's not about today, but it's about tomorrow, and connect with our community. I also think, I used to live when I first moved to Windsor Heights, when I first moved to Windsor Heights, yeah, over 20 years ago, I lived on Lincoln. And so I will tell you, as a mom with a new baby, that was one of my big concerns, is that when I was pushing my stroller, I got to walk on the streets. And you said very clearly, Mr. Steele, that there is it's a narrow street. And so we want to continue to make Windsor Heights a welcoming community, and one that is, that people can get around in, whether you have disabilities or you have a new baby or whatever the case may be, that we've got to be able to connect our community. So I probably support the sidewalks being very much a part of that.
Lauren, Michael?
I don't wish to invalidate the feelings of that works Western night, because I very much believe in what you're saying with your frustrations, your concerns. I think they're valid concerns. One thing that's kind of stuck with me from, it was the first open house, but might have been the second open house, there were several comment cards filled out where people were excited about the sidewalk as long as it wasn't in their yard. And so there were people on the street, or I should say specifically on 68th Street that do want the sidewalks as long as it's not in their yard. And I think, you know, as somebody who lives on 63rd Street who's always had a sidewalk, I feel like in some ways I don't have a dog in the fight, right? Because I bought the house when I had a sidewalk. I knew what to expect. And I can also imagine the frustration of, you know, I bought this house because it didn't have a sidewalk for me to shovel too, right? So, you know, it's one of those things that I wish we could have a solution that made everybody happy and also help contribute to the walkability and people that rely on public transit. Because Hickman has a lot of bus services, and University have a lot of, it's obviously a very busy bus corridor as well. So I think that moving forward in alignment with our plan for complete streets is really important because we're not going to follow our plan.
I guess for me, excuse me. I guess for me, I walk on the street. I don't ever walk on the sidewalk because I have two big dogs and I can't walk on the sidewalk with all of us. So I walk on the street and I have no problems walking on the street. And a lot of people that are on 64th Street walk in the street. And I don't know if that's because we're all used to walking on the street. And so we're just conditioned to just walk out on the street. But I don't think that that we wouldn't have walkability if we didn't have a sidewalk. So that's one of my concerns. And I completely understand both sides of this, as I was one on 64th Street. And thankfully my husband goes out and shovels the sidewalk multiple times a day to get the sidewalk clean. So I can understand the frustration with how people feel.
And Mike, I would just say too, and because I certainly understand concerns as well. And I think one of the things that we talked about with the Del Monte on 64th Street and any street we're working on, we need to make sure we put it back how we found it. We had that conversation with college too.
And
and so I guess what I would say to you is though that you're here to listen, we're here to make sure that your voices are heard. And Justin's heard us say this multiple times, but you know, really important for us to I was, you know, born and raised farm that I look at, and you know, whatever if you do something to somebody's space, you need to leave it better than you found it. And that's really important to me. And that's a conversation I've been involved with a lot of residents to making sure that things were restored appropriately, and making sure that the city holds up our end of the bargain on that. So that is my commitment as your city council person, that is something that that I continue to pledge to make sure it's followed through, you know, to the extent that I can.
One question. Non-related,
Hold on, is it related to this?
it is. It is, not the sidewalks, but it is. Just a real quick question. There's been big holes drilled in our lawns. And I'm wondering, as soon as it's storm, my mower's coming out and I've got a big hole in my lawn. Is it from the, like MetroNet? I don't know what it is, but they went all the way up and down the street and they're about this big around and you put a big, huge cardboard on top and it says hole on it. And I've got, I think, 3 on my box.
It's movement.
I'm sorry,
It's movement. Well, my known is CenturyLink.
centrally. I'm gonna fill them, do that.
Yeah, I think they'll fill them. I think they just did some bowl like last week or so. Probably did it.
Actually, I think it's
I'll let them know.
okay, all right, because I think it's all the way up, and we have cones sitting on it, it's all the way up and down the street, and they're
Sure.
there.
Yep.
It's been cold, but there was a couple days, it's like, oh, wish maybe I could get have had one gentleman go past on budget storage supporting like now. Go up the fence and jump onto my lot and cut across my lot to get off the front. And I wasn't happy about that. I can't guarantee, it was a service guy, because he had a big orange. What do we do when we have people that are trespassing onto our lot? We just call the police.
Well, if someone is working for the utility company, I don't think that.
They can literally jump.
Well, if, you think someone is trespassing, then yes, that would be. But if someone is working for a utility company, I think they have part of their easement allows them to go into.
Everybody knows lawn no matter what.
I don't think it's that black and white.
Oh, okay, well, I'm trying to get clarity. I'm not trying to be bitchy or anything like that. I'm
I
trying to get
understand.
clarity.
If
Because-
someone is trespassing on your property.
Okay, because it's kind of scary having people walk around. Okay, thank you.
I just want to say that this causes me great heart palpitations because it brings back memories of Allison College and all the fun times that we had, Teresa and I. So I also pledge to make sure that the property is back in the same condition, if not better than what we found it. I know that was a problem on multiple properties, and we worked hard to resolve those issues. So took a lot of time and energy, but we got her done.
Any other discussion before a motion on whatever we do? Hearing none, is there a motion?
Oh, did you have a question?
Sorry, yeah, I was just wondering, is there gonna be something like? Oh, yeah.
Sorry.
So
It's just so everybody can, it's part of the recording.
Is there going to be something released that shows like what financially we should prepare for the cost of the sidewalks and everything coming from us for property taxes and stuff?
There isn't any special assessment.
There isn't yet?
There won't be.
Oh, so you're saying that we're not paying?
No, you're not paying.
Well,
Well,
that's. Because you pay
No special assessment.
for the
side
sidewalk.
That's right.
Property taxes.
That's right. You are receiving no separate bill for this. This is all part of just the regular property tax.
I thought there was a separate one.
No,
All right.
The city, assuming this passes, the city is paying.
Okay, and that will just go within our regular property tax.
That's part of your regular property tax.
Okay. Fair enough. Thanks, sir.
Great question. So I move that we approve the All-Star concrete as recommended for $1.92231.25 million.
And also,
Any other further discussion on that? Hearing no roll call.
Susan Skiris,
so this is hard for me because my Public Works Committee said, yes, this is what we need to do. And then the residents are saying no. And I've always stood behind our Public Works. It does do me a little bit better that we aren't paying for it, that the residents are paying for it. Yes.
Michael Libby,
yes,
Lauren Campbell,
Yes.
and Teresa Harms.
Yes.
Thank you both for your time. As far as the no parking signs, I know it's been made of that. Century Link, I know it's been made of that. I believe there was one more thing. Will be passed on for follow. Item 5, public forum. This is the time set aside for comment from the public on topics of city business other than those listed on the agenda. No action may be taken. Please come to the podium, state your name and address for the record, and keep your comments to no more than 5 minutes. No public comment. Consent agenda. Hold on. Need to remove G for separate consideration.
Move to approve minus item G.
Second,
Roll call.
Susan Skiris,
yes.
Michael Libby, Lauren Campbell,
Yes.
and Teresa Harms.
Yes.
Item G is, approving reappointments. to PNC. I spoke to Mr. McConville, over the phone. Very gracious as he was to be offered reappointment. Mr. McConville has been very busy. And so he is, foregoing, reappointment on PNC, so we will need to fill that vacancy. So, Joe, thank you for the 4 years that you served PNC previously. And so this will be one appointment, and then we will have to fill the other PNC position. So there will be a motion without Mr. McConville.
Move to approve the for
Second,
Roll call.
Susan Skiris,
yes.
Michael Libby,
Yes.
Lauren Campbell,
Yes.
and Teresa Harms.
7A, consideration of interim police chief contract. Is that Derek? Or
I can check the looks for you guys. Let's see. Let me get there. Oh, here it is, sorry. So this is a temporary employment agreement with Travis Ouverson, who will be our interim police chief. It lasts for 90 days. February 21 through May 21 with a which could be extended for an additional 3 months based on our needs. And I'm not sure what else you want me to tell you about it. That's about sums it up. Mr. Ouverson will start tomorrow if we sign or we agree to the agreement.
gambling pretty big. All right, any discussion from council on the consideration of the contract?
Everybody understand why we're in this position. Eric's doing us high and dry.
Short time.
Had to put that one in there.
Anything. I Eric knows how much I appreciate them. But anyway, so I'll go to this.
Second that.
Before we go, I just want to thank Barry for bringing this. I had a chance to talk to Ouverson a couple weeks ago, I think it was now. I lost track of time. But it was really great to hear that his beliefs and kind of MO are to support the existing staff and to help us bridge to our new permanent chief. And I have every confidence that he will do that, and that he will very much enjoy his time. Thank you.
I did get asked his name by a few residents, because that wasn't included in this at all, and they wanted to kind of know who it was. And
Oh, it's at the top.
Oh, I couldn't find it when I quick looked. And they said that they couldn't find it, and I said, well, I'll have to go searching through a little bit. So, but if it's there, it was a total miss.
It's in the first.
We could, a lot of people just look at the agenda.
Yes, true.
It could have been named.
Would it be appropriate for us to post to social media? And trying to issue so that residents would choose something. Get your mug shot of it.
Any other, any further discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Susan Skiris,
Yes.
Michael Libby,
Yes.
Lauren Campbell,
Yes.
and Teresa Harms.
Yes.
7B, consideration of snow plow truck purchases.
Yes. So everybody's got everything that we that I wrote up the proposals on the truck there sent to you. I've got other additional information on cost and things of all the repairs we have made on the trucks in the last 3 years. I think it's very important that we get these new trucks. We are budgeted for them. We gotta have safety for our guys out snow plowing. These trucks are kind of starting to get some age on them. They are 10 years old now. They're starting to kind of nickel and dime the city. You know, we don't know what's gonna happen within the next, if we wait another 5 years to get these trucks. We know that inflation is gonna go up to be another 5 to 8%. So instead of paying maybe $245,000 for one truck, we could be paying over 300 and some odd thousand for a truck. So I think it's beneficial for the city, you know, that we get these and we move forward with this process. We are 365 days out, so we would not get the trucks until spring of 2024.
Just in time.
Yeah, right, just in time for snow, right. I also put in there, in the proposal, potentially, maybe even keeping one of our snow plows, so we have 3 snow plows. Because currently, obviously, we have 2 trucks. If one truck goes down, it's at the shop, we're not gonna get it back, which we just ran into this problem on this last snowstorm, where we just got the truck back just in time for this last snow. Our other 1-ton plow went down in the middle of it, of the snowstorm, so we were down a 1-ton pickup truck also. You know, I just think it's beneficial for our city to do this, and if we get this, we could have the 3 plow trucks. We could constantly have the 3 trucks running through the city, getting the city done a lot quicker.
Jason, question. Do we have?
Yes, we could put it over in the cold storage area. Since we got rid of that, they got rid of that jet cleaner and we went to Urbandale, since we got rid, you know, we're not doing our sewer. Urbandale takes care of, we got room for that truck over there and that.
Is that an open bag?
No, no.
And then have there been, you're telling me that one truck was out of commission just before this last?
Just before the storm, and that bill literally cost us, just that truck alone was almost $8,400.
Have there been breakdowns in the snow in the past year, more than that one?
I know at least 2020, we had a transmission go out on one of the trucks, and that was a $12,000 fix. You know, just the wear and tear on those plows going up and down all the time, slapping on the concrete, you know, the hydraulics, everything. You're gonna get a lot of slap in your pins where everything hooks up on your snowplow, and it's just the wear and tear. A snowplow could eventually fall off in the middle of pushing snow.
Question, discussion from council, please.
I have a few questions.
Yeah.
First, I wish this was brought in front of the Public Works Committee so that we could have a discussion. I know I talked in December about calling a Public Works Committee meeting once Jason got into the mix of things, so that A, the Public Works Committee could meet Jason, and B, we could discuss some of these items. But we have yet to have one. And I know the mayor sent out a deal that said that he's not, you know, telling us when we can and can't have committee meetings, but I also don't know, well, I was sick for 5 weeks, and I also don't know, you know, is Jason caught up? How can we get this going? So I do, again, wish that this went in front of the Public Works Committee prior to this going to City Council, because I think it would have been a better thing had Public Works Committee gone through these and asked the questions that I will be asking. Because, you know, I spent this afternoon or into this evening trying to figure out my questions on this, because A, we're having 2 big purchases at one time. So we're going to continue to have these 2 big purchases at one time. We don't have a fire truck and an ambulance purchase at the same time, or all 5 of our PD vehicles at the same time for a reason. And this is kind of a staggered. So why are we not on a staggered thing? I looked in the memo that we currently have international trucks. Well, the Jeep I'm driving is continuing to break down, like Dalton had told Public Works Committee and, all these things. I'm not gonna go and buy my own Jeep again because I'm gonna want to have a vehicle that I can count on. So are the problems that we have been told by Dalton, is that with the international truck itself? Or is that with the product that was put on afterwards, which I'm assuming was from Hawkeye again? There were no other vehicles that we looked at either. It was just the one vehicle that was given to us, the international truck with, the cost for that. Did we look at any other vehicles that, might be cheaper, might be more beneficial, or, kind of, why did we just stick with this international?
I think why I stuck with just these people, O'Halloran, who represents, they're local. The other company, Henderson, is in Manchester, Iowa. So that's a 2-hour trip from the metro to there. If anything breaks down, Hawkeye equipment or O'Halloran will not work on that truck. So let's say that we have a warranty for 1 year on the truck, which is probably not going to be that. It'll probably be like a 5-year warranty. But still, once that warranty runs out, we're still going to be hauling that back and forth. And if we get caught in the middle of a snowstorm, we're out of truck. Another city's not going to let us borrow one of their snow plow trucks to come plow, and we cannot use those 1 tons on these streets constantly. I mean, those 1 tons will tear our streets up.
How many total miles are on the vehicles, or how many hours do we have on them?
The truck number 6 has 18,232 miles on it.
18,000?
Yes.
How about the other?
The other one is going to be roughly pretty close to that. The closest I could come with that, I didn't write it down, but they're pretty much right even keel with the same mileage on there.
And the hours do you?
Those would be the hours.
Oh, those.
Mileage,
Okay.
Yeah. You got to also stop and think about all the tonnage weight. I understand those are not a lot of miles on a truck, but the wear and tear of hauling that salt, hauling busted up concrete through the town all the time, that it really wears and tears on the transmission and on the engine.
What's the average life expectancy or mileage for equipment like this?
Mostly 10 to 15 years, and we're right at our 10-year mark.
Did we buy both of these at the same time?
Yes.
And then who is currently repairing or doing the maintenance for us, O'Halloran?
It would be Hawkeye equipment. Hawkeye equipment does, and O'Halloran, they both. So like the dump box is taken care of by Hawkeye truck equipment because they put on all the accessories onto the truck. And then International O'Halloran takes care of actually like any engine work and anything like that, wiring, mechanical. O'Halloran takes care of all that.
So the Manchester place would be just the box unit that you would have to transport.
It would be everything. So what Manchester is Henderson. They also make equipment and trucks. But let's say that it breaks down, Hawkeye will not fix anything from it.
Right.
And I'm just trying to keep everything local, and I understand your concern and everything.
Then could we purchase just one new plow right now and then have number 6, the better one, the one that we were going to save back for like 2 or 3 years so that we could get onto a different cycle so that we're not constantly having almost $500,000 coming out of our budget? Because I looked and it shows where we budgeted or we put down 150,000 for each, and we're
Well
significantly over that by like what,
150,000
80?
is the right number last year from Dalton. He actually got to make sure that our CIP was right. And that's the difference between last year and this year. I was shocked by this. I was completely shocked by how much higher the amount was.
So, if we're able to keep 3 trucks, that'd be great. If not, we would obviously have to go on iwogov.com and we'd have to try to sell one of our trucks. I talked to the guy at O'Halloran and he said roughly, if they were to give us trade-in, it would be anywhere from $50,000 to $60,000. If we sell them ourselves online, it could be anywhere from $60,000 to $80,000 if we sold it outright ourselves. So there are some options there, obviously.
So
Go ahead.
my next question is, then we'll be paying to maintain a 3rd truck that like for maintenance and that type of thing. Do we have the maintenance plan put in place yet that we talked about? I don't know how long ago. Dalton was still here when we had a maintenance plan. We were supposed to have a maintenance plan put in place because the fire department, police department already have it in place. And the maintenance plan was supposed to be put in place so that we knew that this stuff at 300 hours on my lawnmower, at 300 hours, I'm at P&P having my oil changed. You know, so these are things that for me, it's kind of scary to put this much money in when we still don't have a maintenance plan put in place.
I know all the trucks. So O'Halloran has, anytime it goes to the shop, they have all the maintenance records when they change oil, because they change all the oil up there.
But like, yes,
I think the question is, do we have a maintenance plan?
and we don't have a maintenance plan. And that was something that was asked at the Public Works Committee way back when I first started. I know Teresa and I asked for it at a council meeting. And, you know, this is, and it was prior to Dalton. So I don't remember when he left May. I don't even know.
To be fair, we can't charge him a late fee for the assignment he's just receiving. But I definitely think that should be a priority before, you know, the end of the 2nd quarter to have an in-depth maintenance, you know, comprehensive maintenance plan of, you know, probably get the oil changed in the lawnmowers in March, right? Or so, whatever, you know, whatever that looks like, so that we can make sure that we're being good stewards of the city's money. To Susan's point. Sorry to interrupt.
No, you're fine.
And I do want to look into it to make sure that maybe there isn't one. And maybe, I mean, maybe Jason, who's only been here a month and a half, doesn't know that there is one. Maybe Bill knows there is one. So I'll make a note of that, and make sure we figure it out.
There was supposed to be one. So, but that was never brought to council. I will say this is probably not a plan.
We'll add it to the
There's
things
always
to
something
do.
We'll do.
This is true, I think. Yes. I'll figure this, Teresa.
And this was not,
Well, no,
this is
still, I
not
mean,
towards you.
no, I get that.
You know, you just happen to wear the hat today.
That's all right.
So real quick, Derek. There's you have a maintenance plan for the police vehicles? Okay, so what, I mean, is that, we made that, you made that, who made that?
Put it on this spreadsheet. 20, 30, 40, 60,000.
So basically, what you're telling me is you took the owner's manuals from the old and just put them out. Spreadsheet?
Sounds good.
I think I just found your maintenance plan right there.
There you go.
I would always encourage you to reach out to West Point or the Dell, ask them what they have. And see what they have for maintenance plans, how you can potentially make it better, but we're supposed to not just be for vehicles, but all the
All
equipment.
the equipment.
I know there was a book I swear I seen somewhere in the back. I'll ask one of the guys because, you know, especially with like the lawnmowers and the trucks, you know, the pickup trucks, we change all the well. They have to have some sort of log for that. I mean, how are we ever going to know when to change oil?
There's gotta be something.
So, a few things. As I said, I've always said, I'm not gatekeeping. If you want to talk about something in the committee, if this is something that the council wants public works committee to look at these questions, then they can make that direction. If, council would like to vote on approving these snow plows purchases.
I have a question, I'm not quite sure. Henderson Truck Equipment is in
Manchester.
Manchester. But I'm looking at this bid, and it says Northwest Second Street, Des Moines. What is that?
That's Hawkeye.
We didn't get a bid
What's
from Manchester.
HTE?
That's Hawkeye Truck Equipment.
Okay. Just, I see Henderson Truck Equipment, HT. I'm going, wait a minute,
That's okay.
thank you.
Yes, sir.
Well, I do think it should probably go back to Public Works. That's gonna be my recommendation, but just a couple of other thoughts and suggestions as you're going through this one. One of my questions was going to certainly be about the maintenance plan. And then Susan asked a bunch of the questions about the average life. And I definitely I would prefer to see these on a rotating purchasing as opposed to all at once. You know, probably heard me say this more than once just because it's budgeted. We don't need it. It doesn't need, and I'm not saying we don't need it, you know, but just because it's budgeted, it doesn't mean you pay for it, right? Like it doesn't. So I guess I would also just like additional information, like where do they stand? You talked it, so you said it's about a $30,000 cost. Two of those, one was for replacing engine. Well, that sounds like that's in pretty good shape for my, but again, I don't know, but I'm gonna trust the Public Works Committee to probably dissect that. So that's where I would stand with
I can't say that I completely agree with Teresa about if we have money budgeted, but we don't immediately did it, because I do think there is value in adhering to a plan, because it doesn't make it any less painful when everything breaks down at once. But it would be nice if both of our snow plows aren't getting old at the exact same time, but I don't know the right way to fix that either, because obviously if they both need to be replaced, it's like making one of them, dragging out one of them longer. I don't know what the right solution is, but I think that going back to the Public Works Committee to make a recommendation and maybe even seeing some of the quotes from if there's other manufacturers that aren't international, just so that we know that we're being good stewards of public dollars.
I think that it's troublesome that in 1 year that we've seen the inflation hit those numbers, and I would
Crazy.
urge us to move with some swiftness, because I have to trust our experts who are in the field. And should we dally and this costs us even more money? We've seen this, unfortunately, time and time again, where we put things off and it costs us lots more at the end. So I would urge us to do some swiftness.
Jason, how long are the bids good for?
They're good for whenever we decide to make our decision.
It
Because isn't
expires
it
30 days.
Isn't it
But
through the
this was,
GS,
go ahead, I'm sorry.
isn't it through the GSA or whatever that is? So then we pull that up and it's good until the next fiscal year or something. It's good for a year
Yeah,
because of how we are bidding.
yeah, because this is actually a statement.
Yes.
Yeah.
Do we know, is that fiscal year as in state fiscal year, like July 1st-ish? I don't know. Or is it calendar year?
Good question. I'll ask the question. That is a good question.
I didn't think to look that one up.
I assume we can probably get a Public Works Committee.
Mhm. I'm sure.
When's our next council meeting?
The 6th,
What's the one after that?
20th.
Council would entertain a motion to table this consideration until March 20th. And between now and then, Public Works Committee will meet to discuss this. And if the comments or questions from City Council could be provided in writing, then those can be discussed at Public Works Committee. So there's no confusion, you show up without questions. Very much. That's why.
So moved.
Second.
To summarize that,
Just gonna say, you don't ask me to summarize, would you just?
tabled until March 20th. And if council could, any questions be presented in writing ASAP so that we have the Public Works Committee.
Good luck for them.
Roll call.
Susan Skiris.
Yes.
Michael Libby.
Yes.
Lauren Campbell.
Yes.
And Teresa Harms.
7C, consideration of resolution number 2023-13, resolution authorizing execution of agreement from the city of Windsor, the city of West Des Moines.
So,
Jason again?
Yeah, so I've got everything with West Des Moines. West Des Moines done it for the last 20 years for us. They literally are doing this for us literally at cost. Nobody's gonna be able to like beat that. Obviously, Des Moines has got a lot more lane miles, you know. So it'd be tough for them to get a manpower over here. Same with Urbandale. So my proposal is we'll just stick with West Des Moines. I mean, they've always done a good job. They've always been Johnny on the spot. I've got the schedule here. When they come 4 times a year. And obviously they've got it through April they start, and they come 8th through the 12th. I'm not gonna say that's gonna take them all week to do it, because it's not. That's spending rain days in there or anything bad. Come back in June 17th through the 21st. Then they come back in September and do it from the 2nd until the 6th. And then the last time right before winter, they do it November 4th through the 8th.
is this an increase of $4,520, or is that the cost that we're paying?
That's it. It's just an increase.
Okay.
It's per hour because we do 113 hours. They do 113 hours of street sweeping. The price was $135 an hour, and now it's going to, or it was, yes, $135. Now it's going to $150. Right. Yes.
Yes.
And then the cost for emergency sweeping is going up too,
Is will be 150. Yes.
so it's the same?
Yeah. Yes. 135. No, I'm sorry. It's 135 now. Prior it was $95. I'm so sorry. It was 95 before. Now it's 135. And the change, it hasn't changed since 2011. The cost.
One of my, and I've thought about this, I think about it all of this, thinking about this as I was reading this contract again, with the times. Feel like our leaves, because we have our older trees, like fall, like people are still picking up leaves
In
and
December.
putting it in December, like end of November. And so I don't know if there's any thought or consideration for adjusting that last sweep. If that's available to, I know it needs to be before snow, but I mean, I think about the last few, it's like, there's still a lot of leaves on the trees for the last ones to sweep that schedule. So if we have an opportunity, we can push that back. I think it would be in our best interest.
So maybe take the November sweep and maybe move it to December.
Would love it.
Looks like they don't actually do December. They don't actually sweep in December.
Maybe go to the end.
Yeah, but it looks like meaning they don't. City of West Des Moines does not sweep in December. Not
We'll
even
move it to the last.
the last,
And
month,
does-
the last week.
Does that line up with yard waste pickup? Would that blow up to like yards?
Because they also do Valley Junction, which is part of West Des Moines. We all know that.
And maybe we can't even change around the schedule, but at least we could ask to see.
Yeah, we can call Paul over there, West Des Moines.
Who, in 2080, guys. Right.
No.
And so they just, who determines the schedule? They do.
Yeah, West Des Moines, yeah.
So. We'll see if they can do December. Because if we have. Okay.
I'm pulling that up right now.
So when we're-
Yeah, that they have those dates up.
Well,
So the yard waste collection season will end November 25th, 2023, and then the winter yard waste is going to be January 1st to January 12th, 2024. They pushed it back.
What's the last one for regular?
November 25th.
Like the week after Thanksgiving.
and so the later the better. And then when's the first time in the spring?
For yard waste.
No.
There's free cleaning. That's gonna be in April.
Yeah, so if they could, be inquiring whether or not it can be in December.
Okay.
That would be
Yeah.
good. That'd be good.
I'll call and ask him. You're welcome.
Any other questions or comments or discussion? Hearing none.
Susan Skiris.
Yes.
Michael Libby. Lauren Campbell.
Yes.
And Teresa Harms.
7D, discussion of spring cleanup day on citywide roads. Adam, Michelle,
Oh, I can. We've been working with Metro Waste. 5/13 is our cleanup day. And we will actually even have scrap tire cleanup at the same time. That same day,
The down front. Or
where it's been in the past, right? I think we've done it at the park.
Thought so.
Yeah.
I think contract we designate. We designate?
We'll let you know where that is. And then citywide garage sales, obviously that's not the city, but I'm not sure what date that you guys are thinking, so we can put that on the calendar.
and we've done it past 2 or 3 years.
And I got you that date.
I think so, yeah, because I know we talked about it. Last meeting.
Yeah. So it's the 6th of May, right? For the garage sale.
Mother's Day, like,
7th,
6.
Saturday is the 6th.
Isn't Mother's Day the 14th?
I have no idea.
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh,
Mother's Day,
yeah.
14th.
Thanksgiving.
Oh, okay. So it's not-
So then there's no issue with that.
that'd be Friday, 6th.
Good. Okay.
And then wasn't there something, didn't we talk about? Maybe, wasn't there always something with garbage pickup? Or was that the spring
But it
cleanup
was-
that we
Yeah,
all had to make sure that we did that on separate times? And we kept saying, let's remember to make sure,
it was Memorial Day
okay,
and it got pushed back, but now our collection is on Monday, so we could hopefully have that done. It was Friday, the holiday, the regular day, so it's the same day as the crunch.
because that was,
We will avoid that.
it's really bad. So I just remember, always say something about whatever we messed up on 1 year.
That good?
That's what I needed.
All right, 7. Review FY 23-24 budget.
All right, so I just produced a memo that has the key highlights. Revenue, total revenues are estimated 11.575 million, increase of 11.36%. Road use tax is estimated to increase about $500, but we all know that number. I'm very conservative with that number. So local option sales tax, those funds are to be dedicated 50% to reducing property taxes and 50% for other uses. So this year we'll use $30,000 for community center, $355,000 to fund the equipment replacement plan, and then unallocated for FY24 so far, $727,000, and unallocated for FY23, $361,820. So we'll have to allocate those, figure out what to do with the money. It's recommended that there's no change to the levy rate. It will stay the same at 13.76 per thousand of taxable valuation. There's just minor additions to the department budgets. The new positions created for police chief and fire chief, the Westcom dispatch costs, and then monthly newsletter expenses. This says next steps. February 20th, set the maximum property tax public hearing and CIP public hearing for 3/6/23. Well, this memo was written prior to Friday when they approved Senate File 181. So that actually changes what is happening below this. So the issue comes in is that today we should have been doing the maximum property tax hearing. But what's going to happen because of Senate File 181 is we are going to have to redo the budget. So what they're going to give me new numbers because the rollback was incorrect to begin with. They gave us an incorrect rollback, which gave us incorrect property valuations. So they're going to refigure the rollback, give us new property valuations, and then I will have to redo the budget. It just means that the numbers in the back of your binder, it doesn't mean any of the pages except for a few in the very, very front. It just means the actual state budget forms are going to change. The dollars in there are going to change. We're probably going to be looking at $80,000 less than what we currently have.
And they've extended that deadline.
They have extended the deadline for us to get this all done to April 30th. So we have an entire extra month. So that's why I did not give you the max levy tonight, because it would have been wrong. And I don't think it makes sense to publish something that's wrong and then pull it back and republish. Lots of our finance directors across the metro have decided the same thing. They're not going to publish something that's wrong. So they're waiting.
I appreciate that because easily confused.
Well, and I think it's not fair to the public. I mean, they're going to be like, wait, what? I don't understand. So, so what I'm going to do is as soon as we get that information, which I'm hopeful it will be this week, then I will redo the budget and then get it back out to you guys. And then we will do all of that same set of things we should have done, but we'll do it as of March 6th. And then we'll actually finalize the budget on April 3rd. So that's that.
I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Thank you for all the work that you do.
I appreciate that.
You're not running off fast right now.
Yeah, let's just read the budget.
And the impact for,
No, there shouldn't be any impacts at all to the budget. I mean, it's gonna make your bottom line look like it's $80,000. We're spending $80,000 more than what we're bringing in. But we can also do a little bit of cutting to make it better. So I'll make it work. It's not a huge loss for us. There's some cities, it's a major loss. Yeah, like make you cry as a finance director kind of loss. We don't thankfully have that. So, So I will then also get you a new budget calendar. Basically, this budget binder will be incorrect, and but I'll make sure we get it corrected. I'm thankful they gave us an extra month, so there's that. All right. Does anyone have any questions about the budget? It's not going to change anything we talked about, like department budgets. It's not going to change any of that, except I'll have to do a little bit of cutting on some of them. So some of them will be a little bit less. So, you're very welcome.
All right, A, reports.
Yes, thank you. So, just a couple of things. Mac, met last Tuesday, so we have an update largely from the league. So we do during legislative session, invite all of the Metro legislators to participate for about 30 minutes of our time frame. This last week, Representative John Forbes from Urbandale did chime in and express his concern and efforts, the work he tried to do on Senate File 181 to do the backfill or make the state pay that portion because of their error. And so that effort failed, but as you know, the bill did pass and it impacts us again, not as much as it does some communities, but the league gave me just an overview update. So if you don't get their newsletter or their legislative update, I encourage you to sign up to get that in your inbox. It's very good. I don't know where that came from. Daniel and Robert do an amazing job at the State House. I try to stay connected with them on things or things that we might be able to, chime in or help out with. If there's something I can do or give perspective. Happy to always do that. There was a question today about flood mitigation, and so I shared, our progress on our flood mitigation plan and stuff like that. So always an opportunity to share what we're doing here. But so anyways, we do every month get an update from the league, and then legislators chime in. So we also elected the executive committee and leadership for MAC. I'll continue to serve on the executive committee for MAC. Adam, just to know, we should probably schedule a communications committee with that since the end of the year. So I'll connect with you on that. And then just a quick note, Senate Study Bill 1125, which is the local option sales tax and the Iowa legislation. There's a subcommittee scheduled on that for tomorrow. Nothing, there is nothing going on, but just to kind of note, I do understand from Senator Dawson that is maybe not, that bill is not in its final form, but that would take our local option sales tax, make that a statewide penny, and then they would give us our portion back. And so for what it's worth, I just share that that's what's outlined in the bill as it is written today. No guarantees.
And can I reiterate that is vital for the success of the city is having local option sales tax. Funds a lot of work.
And the surprising thing is how few cities do not have. The majority, 936 cities have a local option sales tax. 17 do not.
So there's a lot of, that was a lot of the conversation on that meeting was a lot of cities bonded for whether it was water treatment facilities or whatever, but you use local option sales tax to fund those projects. And so they do rightfully have concerns just with the state not fulfilling their commitment on backfill portion that we all realized here in the last couple of years. So that's, it's a concern, and cities that really do have a right to have concern about doing that.
I hosted a conference council on the 12th. My husband stopped in, had conversations. And on the 17th, special events committee met. And I'll let Susan share updates from that, but I'll just say that got a really exciting year planned of great free entertainment for families, both here in Windsor Heights, but also attracting families from across the metro. I mean, it's really exciting because this is, I think, probably the biggest calendar that I've ever seen Windsor Heights have. So I'm quite proud.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I want to compliment you on the large number of meetings and the full report that you gave us. I think that's really helpful. And I had also had a copy of council this past weekend, and that went really well. It's always interesting folks that stop by and have a bit of a conversation. I'd like to invite our new chief to join me perhaps in March, and we can sit over there at the coffee shop and schedule out a date. I usually try to do this 9:30 in the morning till 11:30 in the morning, and allow the public to meet you. And I think that would be fun. I appreciated the meeting that I had on Monday with Michelle. We went over the budget numbers in depth, and that was very helpful. Compliment the special events committee for the income received. I thought that was pretty dramatic. Spent a little money, made a little money, and it's kind of like a business, you know. And finally, both put together and ask if we'll have an economic development committee meeting the final Tuesday of this month today. That's all I had.
Thank you. Scary.
It was kind of a busy week last week. On Wednesday, was it, that we attended the I'm spacing on the name, the Uplift program. We were able to, Mayor Jones, Joseph Jones, and myself attended at Drake to see the kickoff of the program that we provided money for. It was very interesting. I thought I was going to be way in the clouds as I was listening to the research presentation and thought I'd be twiddling my thumbs, but it was very, very well done and provided a lot of information to us about where the money is going and how they have been fiscally responsible with planning things out. So it was very interesting to be there. Then right after that, I went to the Metro Waste meeting, and not much happened with Metro Waste. So that was a quick meeting. Then on Friday morning, we had our special events meeting. We nailed down our calendar. So we have 7 movies. We have Earth Day. We have the Fall Festival. We have Windsor Wonderland, Veterans Day, not in that order because, you know, the dates are kind of messed up there, but I don't have that written down. So waiting to hear back from Public Works if they will be involved in the stream cleanup for Earth Day. You know, just trying to put more things together. We should have that out on the calendar for tomorrow or Wednesday. So we can start pushing that out as well. We should have our events created here for social media in the next few days or next week or so, so that we can get people involved and they can put it on their calendars ahead of time. So it's kind of exciting to see how much we have planned, and it's kind of scary to see how much we have planned as well, because there's a lot going on. So look forward to this year of special events.
The volunteer sign up will be open soon too.
Yes, so everybody here, sign on up. That's it.
Thank you. Michelle, anything from you?
No.
Okay. Well, if there's nothing else for the good of the order.
Second.
Roll call.
Susan Skiris.
Yes.
Michael Libby.
Yes.
Lauren Campbell.
Yes.
And Teresa Harms.
Thank you.
Jason, do you want the question?